I want to do a quick demo of the firmware update utility. I'm going to go into Power Tools first and show a couple of things. We're on version 1008 of the firmware. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and exit out of this and open up the firmware update utility that we provided earlier. The first thing it's going to do is to check the connection. So it comes back, it shows the T25 is connected, you have the minimum base level of the firmware, and all the ports are clean. Ports clean means that you don't have anything plugged into the USB ports. We need to make sure that we do not plug any devices into the USB ports while we do the bootload and firmware update process. So I'm going to click on Update Boot Code. And this works very similar to your boot update for a Verifone device. You want to make sure it's not interrupted, make sure that there's nothing going on that could interrupt it, and just let it do its work. While it's going through, a couple of things to note. I'm using the cable that came with the T25. So the original T25 cable. What will happen is we'll do this first with the original T25 cable. The next step is going to be the firmware, and after you do the firmware update, we can swap the cables out. But it's important to note, use the cable that came with the T25. Okay, once it's completed, it gives you the option of doing the of checking it again. What we're going to do, we're going to check firmware updater. I can check everything is done. It doesn't give me the option of doing a bootloader because it's already been done. I can click update firmware. It gives me the latest firmware to update to, 004. I click update firmware. I choose the firmware updater once again. And now it's going through the firmware update process. Okay. Now it shows that the firmware has been updated successfully. If you note, it's not doing anything in the corner. I'm going to grab an existing cable. So this is, you should have another cable. I'm just going to use the cable that came with the Samsung device. Note that it shows the different versions of PowaPOS that I have up here running. I'm going to click on Power Tools just once, and note that it's now up to date to firmware 2004. So I was able to print a test receipt as well. So those are all the steps that are involved in getting it up to date. Thanks.